Okay, thank you very much for coming. First, I would like to thank you, the French Chamber of Commerce. We planned this event after the Chinese New Year, and then, we got the coronavirus outbreak. And we are a little bit late to update you about the end of the WOFE and the JV, because as you see, it was at January 1st, 2020. So I know at that day, probably you was not in the good mind to be aware about it. But I think this is a very important subject, and this is why we'll discuss about it. So just a few words of introduction about the end of the WOFE. It was the foreign investment law passed on January 1st, 2020, who decided to cancel the WOFE and the JV. Don't worry, this is not canceled today for all your companies, so you have a period to adapt yourself for the business. But still, you have to be aware about the impact of such a change and how to deal with it in your current business, and if you want to set up a new company. Some people, some newspaper says that the foreign investment law was a reaction to the economic war with Trump and US. This is not true. China government prepared it during 5 years. So we received the first draft of the new foreign investment law 5 years ago, and we were aware that they were going to cancel the WOFE and the JV, even if we didn't know how far they will go. So this is a challenge for investors, but this is also a challenge for all the public workers in China, because you have to adapt your country, your company to it. But also after the Chinese New Year, we got some public officers. They were even not aware about the law. So when we submit article of association up to date, they say, but why this is not referring to the WOFE foreign law? And we say, come on, there is a new foreign investment law. So in some part of China, probably you still have some public officers, they think we still apply the old system, which is not true today. So normally, if you set up a company somewhere, your lawyer should delete all the foreign investment law, the WOFE law, the JV law. If he does not do it, then change your lawyer. So, just small reminder about Chinese history. So you can see the first foreign investment law was equity JV law. So most of the JV in China are what we call the equity JV law. It was 1979. After we got the WOFE law on 1986. And then we got something where few people know except lawyers. This is a Sino-Foreign Cooperative JV. This is not very used in China, but still it exists. At that time, we were in what we call an approval stage. That means any foreign investment who came to China has to be approved by the Chinese government. In practice, what happened? Before you go to the company registry, you have to apply to the Ministry of Commerce of China to get a pre-approval. Once you got the pre-approval decision, then you can register your company in China. Okay, so this is a decision from the government to say you can come or you cannot come. 2016, China started to open the system, and we changed from an approval system to a filing system. So this is what we call the revision of the 4 law, including the WOFE. The 4th law was a law about Taiwan. 2020, so today, this is a new foreign investment law. So this is what we call an information reporting system. That means today the Chinese government, except for very specific industry, does not approve your investment in China. You come to China, you give the document, the information about your business, and then they will give you the business license. So this is a big shift for Chinese foreign investment law. And after, what is very interesting, it's at the same time that the new foreign investment law, we got the implementation regulation. And in fact, a few days before, we got an interpretation of the Beijing Supreme Court to tell you what will happen for some point in the law. And then we have the measure for the reporting system. We'll discuss about it later. So just a few key words about foreign investment law. It does not only cancel the WOFI and the JV. What is important to know is you have some big principle. You have the principle of equal treatment for all the foreigners. So that means if you come to China, you should be treated as a Chinese citizen. Frankly speaking, from my experience, I think foreigners got a better treatment sometimes than Chinese. So I'm not sure if this is positive for you to get the same treatment. But anyway, this is a principle. So if you can see that one of your Chinese competitors got better deal with the Chinese government, you can apply under this law to say, I want the same treatment. Another very good principle is a confidentiality principle. What does it mean in practice is when you got public investigation in your company, most of the time, we try to notify the public officer to say that the information we give to you because you asked for it are confidential, and we ask you to sign a confidential agreement. In 99% of the case, they never sign any confidential agreement, so we have to chop the document, and we have to believe that they will keep it confidential. Today, according to the new law, the public officer have to keep confidential this information. If they don't do it, they can be fired, they can have some warning, they can have some issue. Okay, so this is a very good point for administrative control. After we have the information reporting, we'll discuss later, and you have IPR protection. This is a general principle. We don't know what will happen with this principle, but they say they will better protect the IPR, and we cannot oblige you when you want to set up a company in China to transfer your technology in China. So for me, it's very wait and see. So the end of the WOFI and the JV. From January 1st, 2020, all the three laws about foreign investments, equity law, foreign cooperative law, WOFI law are cancelled. Does not apply anymore. So normally, except if you have a public officer who is not aware, when you set up a company after December 31, 2019, you cannot get a WOFI or a JV. So this is what I call the Lord of the Ring of the Chinese law. This is a company law. The company law will take over all the company in China, and you will have to apply it and will not refer anymore to the three other laws. Very important. You have also another law we don't mention because few people use it. This is a partnership law. So you can set up partnership in China. So it could be the company law or the partnership law, but frankly speaking, we don't use it a lot. So before 2020, you have two systems when you have a company, a WOFI, EGV, or a contractual GV. You have the company law which apply to the company, but you have also some specific rules according to which kind of company you have. So you have two systems to rule your company. So the normal company law, and after the foreign investment law. And after, of course, you have the Chinese company law for Chinese company. Okay, so they don't have any specific laws, they apply the company law. Before 2020. Equity joint venture and contractual joint venture, the joint venture. From 2020 to 2025, this is a good news. You can still decide as foreign investor to keep the old system. So you can decide to keep it or to pass to the new system. So if you keep it, the old WOFI, all joint venture will remain the same, nothing to do. Very simple, and you still have the two systems. So even if the EGV law, the WOFI law, and the contractual GV law are cancelled, you can still apply them exceptionally during 5 years. And of course, any new investor, foreign investor who want to set up a company in China, they will be under the company law, and it will be a Chinese company. After 2025, it's all Chinese company with or without foreign investment. Okay, so this is the Youxin Gongse, the company with a limited liability. So we'll be all under the same rules under the company law. Very simple. But because there is always a but. We still have what we call the negative list. So for the old people of China, we refer before to the catalog of foreign investment. So this is something when I arrived in China 16 years ago, we check it every day when we want to set up a company because we are never sure if it's authorized or not authorized. So during 10 years, we always check it. Since the last 6 years, 5 years, let's say I never look at it. Okay, so there is very few. You can see the forbidden, the negative list was 180 at the beginning, and today we are 33. And I saw some news that they will add, they will exclude from the negative list more field like automobile. Okay, so it will be even lower this year. So it's changing very fast. We have many changes. In fact, you have more than that, but we cannot list them all, and it's going down. So when you are a foreign investor and you want to invest in China, of course, you have to check if you are in the negative list or not. If you are in the negative list, that means you cannot invest in China or you cannot invest alone in China. Maybe you need a Chinese partners. But if you are not in the negative list, then you can set up a Chinese company. Very simple. And what is very interesting about the end of the WOFI and the JV is it's also possible now to set up a shadow investment company in China. So this is one of the big impact of the foreign investment law. Today, for the people who are in IT, high-tech, it was very normal for American company to set up a special purpose vehicle in China and to use nominee. The Chinese new foreign investment law make it clear that it's legal today to use a shadow investment contract and a nominee to invest in China. That means you can ask one Chinese employee or one Chinese partner to set up a company. In fact, you are the true beneficial owner of the company. And if one day you want to execute the and to become the true shareholder with a company registry, in this case, you can apply the contract and you can become the true shareholder of the company. So this is very interesting to structure your investment in China because this is a real practice for Chinese big group who wants to invest abroad. Some of my Chinese clients abroad, they are big companies, they want to invest, and they like to use small companies and to hide the investment because they are afraid to fail to invest. And if they fail, then they close the company and nobody is aware that they were not successful. And if they are successful, they purchase the company and then they make it public. Okay, so we can do the same in China today. And for the people who invest 20 years ago in Alibaba, Taobao, etc., and so on with a shadow agreement, this is now legal. So what was not so legal at that time become legal today. The definition on foreign investment is really wide. You can see this is direct or indirect investment in PRC. This is a foreign natural person, foreign enterprise, foreign organization. If you have a society in France and you want to invest in China, you are covered by the protection of the law. This is contract, any kind of contract, asset contract, merger contract. So it's very wide. Even a gift contract is under the protection of the law. So what is interesting to understand is for investment who are not in the negative list, this is legal to have a shadow agreement. For the investment who are in the negative list, this is illegal. But if the negative list change and it's become out of the negative list, then the contract you signed 10 years ago becomes legal. So that means you can sign a contract to say I will invest in a weapon in China, and you will bet that your weapon will be out of the negative list one day. If it's out, then 10 years ago, it's legal. The only issue with that is if the Chinese partner sue you to cancel the contract before the negative list change, then the contract will be canceled. That's the issue. So you have to be very careful the way you are drafting the contract. And if you are not in the negative list, but you need to register as a shareholder, it's possible to cure it. That means your Chinese partner sue you because they say you didn't register with the Ministry of Market Supervision. Then if you go to see the administration before the judgment, it becomes legal. You can cure it. And we got the first case very fast after the law to say that it was for an American shareholder who signed a nominee agreement with Chinese partners, and it was on January 8th. And the court of Shanghai confirmed that this contract was 100% legal because of the new foreign investment law. But why they confirm it? It's because the American partner was a true partner. That means he was able to prove that he pays the money to contribute the registered capital, and he acts as a shareholder. So you still have to prove that you are a true shareholder. To have a contract is not enough. So the very good point about the law is it's also applied to Chinese people. That means for Chinese living abroad, it's possible for them to be under the protection of the law and to set up a company in China. Before, it was not so clear. Normally, for a Chinese living abroad, they were not under the protection of the law. So it concerns Chinese citizens, investors from Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan. The only things about that, to be defined as Chinese from abroad, you need to cancel the RUCO. So this is the household register. If you don't do it, that means you are still in China. For the Chinese citizen living in mainland China, it's probably legal if they apply to the Ministry of Commerce to set up their company abroad. Normally, you have to apply to the Chinese government to set up the company. If they didn't apply, probably it will be illegal. This is my feeling. The good news about that is for the company who wants, you have a very good employee and you want him to be a shareholder. In most of the part of China, it was impossible to set up a JV with this employee directly because Chinese individual cannot be member, shareholder of the company, except in some part like Pudong district. Now it's possible for them to become shareholder. So that's a very big improvement if you want to keep your value asset employees. So as I said before, WOFE JV established before January 2020. First, you can keep it, you can change, or you can wait 5 years. But if after 2025 you did nothing, how they will solve it? It's very simple. If you want to change anything in the company, they will not accept it. Okay, so it will be frozen. This is the first issue. The second issue you have is they say in the law that you will have a public announcement. That means your company will be listed as abnormal, which is not so good if you want to do business. We don't know if it will impact the social credit, the corporate social credit, but I guess it will. We can bet on it. So what are the big change between the old system of WOFE JV and a Chinese company? So I summarize some main point here. I put the Chinese company and the WOFE together because, in fact, since 2006, this is quite the same regime. The WOFE law changed to be similar to the Chinese company law. So there is no big difference between Chinese company today and the WOFE of yesterday. Okay, this is very similar. For the contractual JV, we'll not talk too much about it because I mean nobody uses that today, or very few companies. So we'll focus on the first part, JV law. So the first important things to know that this is in JV law, the main authority, the highest authority, is what we call the board of directors. For the company law, for the WOFE, this is the shareholder meeting committee. For the power of duty of highest authorities, all the major issues such as change of AOA, increase and decrease of registered capital, merger, spin-off, and dissolution should be dealt by the board of directors. For the Chinese company law and WOFE, this is much wider power to deal with. This is the same power, but with much wider set of power. The most important is the voting rules for major issue. For JV, it was unanimity. That means if you don't agree for any change with your Chinese partners, you cannot change anything. Your wedding is frozen. This is what I call Vatican II. That means this is eternal wedding. Okay, we have some JV in a box for many years because the Chinese partners and the foreign partners are not able to decide what they are doing with the company. For the WOFE and company law, you can decide with a 2/3. So this is much more favorable to the majority shareholder. So this is very good to solve such kind of a majority minority shareholder dispute, because before the minority shareholder in the JV, they can bother you all the day, you can do nothing. Number of members, we have 3 directors for the minimum for the JV, 3 to 13 for the board member in the company law, or what we call 1 executive director. So it's you don't have to, it's a 1, 3 to 30. Quorum, 2/3 of all the directors for the JV. And in the company law and the WOFE, this is much more flexible. You can decide. Okay, so it's up to you to decide. Normally, the company registry will not challenge you, but sometimes they can say, oh, we will not accept you to register. So it really depends on the officer you have in front of you. Terms of director is also 4 for the first one, and no more than 3 for the Chinese company and the WOFE, but you can, of course, renew it as much as you want. So this is not an issue by itself. What is very interesting is the legal representative for the JV was always the chairman of the board. And for the WOFE and the Chinese company, it could be the chairman of the board, what we call the executive directors, if you don't have a board of directors. Oh, sorry. And the general manager. So it's more flexible. So what is the impact on the corporate governance of the company? For the WOFE, this is very limited. If you have a WOFE today, you don't have to hurry to change the article of association, because normally it's up to date. But you still have to be careful, because we have to do a difference between the WOFE before 2006 and the WOFE after 2006. Before 2006, probably you need to update your article of association, because they are not up to date according to the company law. After 2006, normally you have nothing to do. One of the interests to change the WOFE to the new company law will be what we call the payment of the 3 funds. You have some compulsory funds to pay for employees in China when you have a WOFE or a JV, and for Chinese company, the amount to be paid to these funds are much lower. So it will be cheaper for you to go to the new company, but this is not a big difference. For the JV, this is very huge difference. I mean, everything will have to change, and this is it really depends of your relationship with your Chinese partner. So if you have good relationship, I think you can start to discuss with him. If you have bad relationship, probably you will have to wait for the end of the 2025 to be able to do something, to try to negotiate something. Because if he does not want to change anything, during 5 years, we still have the unanimity rule, so you can do nothing. What the implementation regulations say for the JV is, for the JV, you have what we call the JV contract. So you have the article of association, the JV contract. The JV contract is a compulsory shareholder agreement. That means when you want to register a JV in the past, you have to give a shareholder agreement. It was compulsory to have a shareholder agreement. This shareholder agreement can still apply after 2025. So it's also, it will depend on the negotiation between the parties. This is also one point of the law which is not so good, because the good things about the JV law, it's you were obliged to have a shareholder agreement. Today you have many people who set up WOFE and they don't negotiate a shareholder agreement. So that means if you have any dispute with your partners, foreign or Chinese partners, well, let's say foreign because this is a WOFE, then you don't have any legal tool, contractual tool to solve the dispute, to liquidate the company, or to sell the company and to use some option to ask one of the shareholders to leave. For the JV, 2025, you will have to know to get the approval of your Chinese partners. If you are smart, normally you should have a deadlock clause in the JV contract. That means you should anticipate in the JV contract what happens if you are not if you didn't agree together on the dispute situation. If you don't have it, then probably you will have to wait for more implementation rules to decide what to do. So as I say, some of JV impact, so we have a shift from the board of directors to the shareholder meeting. For the director's appointment, we have a big change because in the JV, the number of directors to be appointed by each shareholder depends on the percentage in the capital contribution. For the new Chinese company, the number of directors to be appointed depends on the drafting of the article of association. So you can be more flexible. It's not I am the biggest one and I will get the most of the directors. You can decide that the minority shareholder will be able to appoint more directors than the majority shareholder. For the change of the article of association, it will be the two-thirds votes rules for the shareholder holding the voting power. So that means if you want to divorce, it's possible to divorce. It depends how much percentage you have. As I say, the Chinese employee can become partners. A very interesting point are for the dividend of the company. For the JV, when you have 50-50, you have to pay 50% to the Chinese partner, 50% to the foreign partner. This you cannot change it. This is compulsory. This is the law. Now, according to the new rules with the Chinese company law, you can decide to have a different payment. That means even you have 50-50 partners, you can decide to have 40% for one of the dividend and 60% for the other one. You just need to use the unanimity rules for that. So we don't know today if you can put it directly in the article of association to decide at the beginning, or if you will have to provide the decision to the administration when you decide to pay the dividend. But I think you can put it in the article of association or in the shareholder agreement. For the share transfer also, you have a big change because before, if you want to transfer the share of the JV, you have to get the consent of all the shareholders. And you have, of course, a preemptive right for each shareholders. Now, under the company law, no consent for internal transfer. That means if you have 5 shareholders and one of the shareholders want to sell to the other shareholders, you can sell it without any issue, and you are not obliged to propose it to the other shareholders. Okay, so internal transfer are free. Of course, if you have a shareholder agreement, you have to apply the shareholder agreement, but inside the company, according to the article of association, this is free to transfer to already existing shareholders. So this is very important. For external transfer, you need to get the consent of more than half of the other shareholders. If they refuse for you to transfer to a third party the equity you have, in this case, the descending, the one who refuse, the shareholder who refuse, will have to purchase the equity. If they don't want to purchase the equity, or if they cannot purchase the equity, in this case, it will be considered as if they consent to the transfer, and then you can sell it. And of course, you have a preemptive right to purchase the shares according to the same terms than the third party. And to be very flexible, the Chinese company law allowed you to change the law, so you can draft the article of association you want for the transfer of the shares. So more flexibility. So how to be ready? The first things you need to do in your company is to send your secretary or one employee to the Ministry of Market Supervision, the company registry in China, to withdraw all the information about your company. Because most of the company was set up maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you forgot about the article of association. You may have some translation in English, but maybe this is not the good translation. So the first point, the first things to do is you send somebody to the company registry. They withdraw all the document in 30 minutes. You got a chop of the administration, and you are sure the document you have, this is the last document registered with the company. And then you can start to review them and to take the good decision if you need to change or not. You need to review the article of association, the JV contract. It's interesting because in some case, the JV contract is not registered with the company registry. They lost it or we cannot find it. Some company registries, they don't care about the JV contract. So if you don't have it, this is an issue. But normally you should have it and you have to review it. So a few points to change, as we mentioned, the IAS authorities, the voting rules for major issues, the quorum, the share transfer. So you have to decide what to do according to the law and to see what do you need to update. Of course, if you have a WFOE and you are alone, I mean, there is no discussion and you do whatever you want. But if you have a Chinese partners or if you have a WFOE with different investors, I think this is a good time to decide what do you need to change to improve the business and to improve the relationship. Once you review all the documents, you have to decide what is your bargaining power. So you have to assess, are you in position to negotiate with your Chinese partners or not, or your foreign partners? And you have to identify what are your targets. I mean, what do you want to achieve if you update the article of association and the shareholder agreement? For majority shareholders, I think it's very simple. You don't want unanimity. Okay, so the issue we have today, according to the implementation rules, is in 2025, if the minority shareholder does not want to give up the unanimity, in this case, probably it will be a deadlock. So if you don't have any deadlock mechanism in your JV contract, that means your JV will probably be frozen. You will not be able to update anything in the JV, and at the end, you will be blacklisted. So this is where you need to decide how to put pressure on your minority shareholder. The good news is you have the law, and the law says you have to change. So this is a good way to reopen the negotiation. And of course, you have to take advantage of the 2/3 rule for the voting rights, and you can decide at the end to be alone on board. For minority shareholders, you can still keep unanimity if you want. And stay where you are today. That means if you don't want to move, you don't want to move. But in this case, the company will not be working very well, I guess. And the most important for minority shareholders, you need to negotiate your exit option. That means if the majority shareholder wants to sell, then he should be obliged to propose you to sell at the same time and in the same condition. You need to be able to propose the majority shareholder to purchase your shares if you want. So you need to negotiate the exit option. This is very important. So when to start the negotiation? I will say as soon as possible. Of course, it depends of your business calendar and what is your relationship with your Chinese partners. But what is sure, if you probably in 2025, it will be a big jump to update all the companies. Today in China, you have about 600,000 JV and WFOE. Okay, so it's a lot, and all of them will need to be up to date in 2025. So my advice is once you did the withdrawing with the company registry and you think about what to do, what to change in the company, start the negotiation as quick as possible. Of course, if you're in the situation where there is a JV sleeping in the box for 10 years, I think you can wait 2025 and propose to your Chinese partners with who you didn't speak for many years to up-to-date the company or to terminate it. Don't forget there is a social credit risk in case of deadlock. So this is one of the big issues of this change. So my advice is go ahead for the negotiation. So this change for me, you have many opportunities, and you have to take this big shift as a big opportunity. The main opportunities we can identify is for merger acquisition. That means today, if you want to purchase a Chinese local company, you have to go to a pre-approval process, registration process with the administration. now, if you want to purchase a company, you purchase a company as Chinese investor. So that means there is no pre-approval process. Okay, so it makes it faster and cheaper to purchase Chinese company in China. That's a good point. As I mentioned, shadow equity investment is an option which is could be a good option to structure your investment in China. So I think this is very good for pushing investment in China. And this is safe if you are not in the negative list. That means you will not lose your money and you are under the protection of the foreign investment law. Funding option, when you set up a foreign investment company in China, normally you don't have many funding options to pay the registered capital. You pay by cash, you pay by IP rights, you pay by other rights like land use right, land, and that's it. With the new law, you can proceed to what we call to share swap. That means you can exchange your action between companies. So this is very interesting. Probably we'll need some implementation to know how it will proceed, but normally it should be open for that. For financing, you can issue public stock, bond, and other securities. So that means today it's very hard for a foreign investment company to finance their business in China. You will have more options. You can ask the public to invest in your company. Of course, you will have special regulation to be followed like Chinese company. But if you follow the regulation of the Chinese company, it should be possible to issue stock, bond, and other security. We still have many questions also about the implementation of this shift. As I said, deadlock in 2025. What happened? So probably we have some new implementation rules for that. But in the worst case, you can go to the tribunal and to choose the partners to try to unblock the deadlock. We have now a new thing, which is a national security review. Now, what is a national security review? It means that the Chinese government can, for national security reason, monitor your company. We don't know how far they can go. Of course, it should be a company in a strategic field, but you may be obliged to report to the Chinese government and to pass some audit for national security. So this, we are not clear and we are waiting for more information. Big uncertainty is the total investment rule. When you set up a company in China as foreign investor, we have a legal ratio between registered capital and total investment. If your total investment is 100, your registered capital is 70, and the difference between registered capital and total investment, this is your capacity to borrow money in foreign currency. So this is your borrow capacity for foreign currency. So it will be 30 for less than 3 million investment. So this is a very specific rules in China. We don't know if it's cancelled. Normally, it should be cancelled, which is a big news for us, because if you want to borrow money from your mother company in Europe, you cannot borrow money over 30. That means you have to be inside the total investment. And if you want to borrow, if you decide to do a long-term loan with your mother company, it's only once. So that means if you use a 30 borrow capacity for a loan of 10 years, after 10 years, you will not be able to borrow any more money. So that's why what we do in this case, we do what we call short-term loan. That means you borrow 30, 1 year, and you renew every year, and you go to declare it to the safe. With the change of, and the end of the WOFI and the JV, normally, this rule will not apply anymore. So in theory, you will be able to borrow money as long as you want, but we think the SAFE will issue new regulations, so the foreign exchange control, to give you the up-to-date rules because the total investment does not exist. So we are not sure how it will apply, but it should be a good news for us because this is very difficult to borrow money in China if you don't have any guarantee to provide, and I think to be able to borrow money from abroad is a good thing. We don't know exactly what is the burden of the new investment law for the company social credit. How much point it will count if you are not up to date, this we don't know. And one last thing which could be scary is a Chinese company can set up a communist party. We are talking more and more about communist party in foreign investment company. And now that we are under the same umbrella, there is nothing to prevent a communist party to be set up. For information, communist party committee, you need 3 communist party members in your company. So if you have 3 employees together who decide to set up a communist party, then they can set up the communist party, and you have to fund it. So in conclusion, I think you have to adjust your structure and to decide what is the right timing. You have 5 years to decide what to do. For the WOFI, this is not emergency if you are alone. If you have partners for WOFI, JV, you need to decide what is the best strategic point to start the negotiation. Or you have a very good relationship and you can start to negotiate now and to up-to-date your company now. Or you have a very bad relationship and then probably you need to wait middle of 2025 to put pressure on your Chinese partners and to try to change the rules. But if he does not want, then you can do nothing at the moment. I think this shift is, will be very important. I would like to give you one statistic which is very interesting. According to the China rank, according to the World Bank for ease of doing business list, China rank in 2017 as 31 positions. That means it's easy to do business in China. This is a 31 country. Singapore is number 2, Hong Kong is number 3, Malaysia is number 12. In 2020, the rank of China is 20, so they are improving. And it was before the implementation of the rule. So I think with this new change of the rule, to set up a company in China, it was already faster. We can set up a company within 1 month if it's not industrial, but it will be even faster to set up the company. So probably they will improve a lot in the global competition. So it should be a very big opportunities to attract investment in China. Thank you very much. You have any question? Yes, sir.
Company, no JV, no WOFI. That means 100% Chinese shareholders, and you have a foreigner want to buy shares. You need to create a new company?
No. You can invest directly in your company. Before, it was already possible. That means as foreigner, you can purchase part of the Chinese company, and then you will have to apply to change it in a JV. Okay, and you have a minimum. That means at that time you have to buy at least 25% minimum capital. Okay, today you don't have any minimum. That means you can invest 1%, 0.1%, whatever you want, and you don't have to change the status of the company. This is a Chinese company, Yoshin Gongse. Okay, so very flexible.
Regarding the registered capital, before when you create your WIFI, they will always ask you for a certain amount, right? If you want to open a WIFI in Shanghai, they will say, okay, at least 1 million RMB, otherwise we don't give you the license. No, do you think that would still be the case?
It's over since many years. I mean, today there is no minimum capital in the law since I think 4 or 5 years. So today you can open a WOFI with 10,000 if you want, but if you open a WOFI with 10,000, nobody will buy your product. Is not credible. I mean, you have to get a certain amount of registered capital, okay? My advice, the minimum one should be according to your business plan. Registered capital today, it's a business plan decision. And this is not a financial decision. So you have to decide how much you need to start your business. And the good things today is, as investor, you can decide to pay up the registered capital in 40 years. So a long time ago, when you set up a company, you have to pay up the capital in 3 years, and you have to pay up 30% within 3 months of the issuance of the business license. This is over. And we spent 10 years ago a lot of time to proceed to register capital increase because foreigners don't want to put too much capital, and at the end they don't have enough money. Okay, today you can put 100 billion if you want. and you can pay up in 40 years. And when I say 40 years, you can pay nothing for 39 years and wait the 40 years to pay up. So it's very flexible.
And the way the registered capital works is they used to limit, and this is quite recent. I think one of my clients is in this case. They want to use that money that was invested from abroad to open branches. But then
you have quota.
The banks would refuse because
yes.
They say it's not been approved by the foreign administration bureau. So.
When you receive registered capital, you cannot spend it at once. That means if you want to convert it from the bank capital account, you have a special bank account to receive the registered capital. And if you want to put it on the current account of the company, you have to declare it to the safe. And if you want to convert euro to renminbi or renminbi to renminbi, you need to justify to the bank why you need this money. If you are not able to justify, you still can. It could depend of the bank, but normally you can change PT money. Well, PT money is 200,000 USD without explanation. Okay, but if you want to increase the registered capital, for example, to pay the purchase of a Chinese company, that means the WOFE will invest in another company. It's not possible directly. You have quota. So this normally, according to the law, I think it will change a lot. You will have logically, it will change, but you will need implementation, and then you will have to talk with your bank, which is probably not up to date. Yeah, but
I had a question on the last thing you mentioned about the Communist Party, that 3 employees can register a section in the company. So we'd like to know how does it work? So you mentioned also it has to be funded. So
they just need to declare it to the local Communist Party section, and they apply for it, and then you will have a notification to say that they set up a Communist Party in your company.
But what kind of consequences does it have for the company?
You have to let them assist to the meeting. You will have to pay, I don't have the number, but it should be like a trade union, like 0.1%, something like that. So you have to pay them money for their internal activities, and you have to let the other employee to be able to join.
Okay, thank you.
We also received some questions online.
Yes.
Someone asked, for a new company creation, can we still create a company with a part of totality of funds coming from abroad?
Yes, this is no change for that. It was possible before, so no change.
Okay. And someone else asked, for WOFE, except the name, nothing really changed, or what's the difference with before?
The main change is you read your article of association and you delete foreign really WOFE law. This is the main change today.
The question?
If you have a 100% WOFE from abroad, so there's none of those complicated situation with the JV shareholder.
Yes.
What do we need to do? Is it we do nothing and it will automatically be transferred, or do we need to?
No, my advice is, if it's all WOFE and you never change anything like the business scope, I think this is a good time for you to check what you are doing in your business operation and to be sure that your business operation is according to the business scope. If it's not up to date according to the business scope, my advice is you update it immediately and you will be legal. Because to not have a business scope up to date, that means you are doing illegal activity in China and you can get fined and they can seize your profit. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to see if you need to update your article of association. All the article of association probably are not so clear about the power of the general manager, the power of the board, the power of. So I think you got history in your company. This is a good moment to think, okay, we got this issue with the previous general manager, so maybe we need to define his power more completely. Yes.
Is there? Okay. Online. Okay. I just would like to know where online can we check the negative list content?
You have official government publication from the NDRC. This is the Commission of National Development Commission. If you want, I can send you. I can give the link, and the French Chamber will send you the link.
Okay, and
it's changing very fast. So the one I am giving you probably will not be up to date.
And from what you saw with the evolution since all those years, did you see some change regarding everything, regarding IT, technology, digital, deep tech, this kind of topic?
I always saw a shorter negative list. That means it's really shorter and shorter and shorter. And China is opening today for foreign investment. And you have only very, very few fields where you cannot invest in China. Okay, so, and I'm confident that despite what happened in the world, they will carry on to do it.
And the software business.
And the software business also. It depends which kind of software. You know, if you are doing encryption, you still need to declare it and you know, to give the key to the Chinese government. So you have to be very precise in which kind of business you want to do. But today it's quite rare to have to think, okay, is it legal or illegal in China? Of course, in some for food, for example, you can set up a restaurant, but you still need some special license for the wine, but this is normal. Okay.
Thank you.
Just maybe 2 or 3 more questions coming from online as well. We have a participant asking, are there still negative list of business purpose forbidden to companies with foreign investors?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Sorry, I repeat. So are there still negative lists of business purpose forbidden to companies with foreign investors?
Sure. Weapon is forbidden. Mapping is forbidden. If you want to map China, okay, that's forbidden.
Okay. And the last one for online, what if a foreign company is a shareholder of a new company that will be created in China?
Then it will be a Chinese company, Yuxin Gongse.
Okay.
Okay. My advice is, because you will set up a new company, maybe you just update the company before, the holding company, like that you don't need to update after the subsidiary.
Okay. Does everyone has any other questions, even online? Okay. Looks all right.
Question? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicolas.